Countdown has pledged to end the use of single-use plastic bags at its supermarkets by the end of 2018. The company says they made the announcement yesterday after discovering a large majority, 83% of their customers, supported phasing out the bags. So do all other supermarkets need to hurry up and do the same? And do we need a law dictating they must do so? Our Breakfast Club this morning, Ashley Church and Jess Maloney. Kia ora, guys. Good morning.
Good morning.
Right, it's time, isn't it?
It is
Ban
time.
the bag.
I'm so happy about this. I mean, it kind of seemed like a no-brainer to me when I sort of saw some stuff from supermarkets asking their customers about whether or not they should be phasing out plastic bags. But it's so nice to see that public opinion has now actually caught up with that. I think, like, we've been kind of reluctant. I think last time we spoke about this, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, we were kind of like, you know, don't take my plastic bags off me.
But people say they don't want plastic bags. However, they still use them. So here's the thing, I just wonder if sometimes the things people say and the things people do are quite different.
So there's that. Let me take a slight counterpoint to this at the risk of drawing down the wrath of every Green voter. Should we ban plastic bags? Yes. Problem with this, with all due respect to Countdown, is this is a marketing ploy. It's not done with a strategic intent in mind. It's about getting more customers against their rivals. And so it's a little bit like if you remember the days of Telethon when you used to have a, you know, there was a hairdresser in Birkenhead who'd donate $10 and challenge every other hairdresser to do the same. It kind of falls into that category. I'd have a lot more respect if this wasn't Countdown on their own, if it was the Retailers Association or some such organisation that was coming out and saying, we've got all of our members together, we've agreed that we're not going to have plastic bags, it's time to do this as an industry, not just one doing it for marketing purposes.
But despite the motives?
It's a good thing.
Despite the motives, it's a good thing. And I completely agree with that. I think it's kind of quite interesting that there's been a lot of chatter about plastic bags recently in the last few weeks. So, but it's a great thing. And I think kind of coming out there and just biting the bullet and saying we're going to do it by 2018, committing to it from next week, I thought was really clever.
Yes. It would be easy if we just had a law, though, right? If we had a law that said, right, everyone's...
Wouldn't that be a lot of common sense? Wouldn't that be a lot of common sense? I know.
But wouldn't it be, I mean, because the concern a lot of the retailers have at the moment is that one of their competitors is going to have a bit of a bump in sales because people aren't going to like the not having plastic bags.
And then they're
going to say, right, I'm going to go to this supermarket instead of this supermarket, you're going to lose sales, blah, blah, blah. So surely it's actually in all of their interest to have a law because then they're all playing from the same...
Because they're all playing the same thing. And I think it's just, it's also a sign of a changing consumer as well. Like, it's becoming more important to consumers, and as a retailer you have to be up to date with those types of trends and understand what's important to your customer and make it easy for them to contribute towards
the problem with the law though is that it presupposes that as a society we're not actually capable of doing anything as a society unless nanny state tells us to do so. And
we're sort of not.
I would like actually the supermarkets to go further, and I would like them to put pressure on suppliers because they have that ability to do that, to be more creative with the packaging that they use. I mean, some of the packaging in supermarkets is atrocious.
Exactly. I mean, all you have to do is look at some of that fruit and vegetable packaging where you've got, you know, 4 or 5 apples stacked up in a plastic tube. It's like,
I know.
The skins,
I know.
it's the covering, it's got its own packaging.
We're talking about productivity. A study out of the UK that says the 8-hour workday is a fallacy, and that we should only need to be working about 3 hours a day, and that's the only time.
So we're out of here. See you guys later.
No, I have a really strong... this is close to my heart. So for half of my working life, this was an issue I felt really passionately about because I've always recognised that there's old world thinking, which is about inputs. It's about the amount of time that you actually spend sitting at a desk doing something, and then there's what it should really be about, which is output, which is what you actually produce. So as soon as I was in a position to employ staff, and I employ a reasonably effective team at the moment in Wellington, it's always been about the output. It's always been about what the group actually produces rather than the amount of time that they spend. Now, whether you drop back to 3 hours, I think that's a bit of an extreme. The study was recommending 3. But certainly recognising work-life balance and recognising that it's not the amount of time that your backside's sitting on a chair, it's what you're actually producing in the time that you're actually in that role. That should be the focus.
But there are certain jobs where this is more appropriate than others.
Sure.
Yes,
but
definitely.
This is something you're pretty
this is something I'm really passionate about. Like, exactly, like the minute I had the chance to start a business and employ people, this was flexible working was like, it's one of our kind of key things. And I think it comes down to encouraging a culture where there's always that person in the office that arrives early and stays late, so it looks like they're working really hard.
But what are they producing?
But what are they
producing? Can you measure at the end?
So it's about encouraging a culture and a team it's not about that. It's not about who stays here the longest. It's actually about who puts out the best outputs. How can we encourage it as a team? So, you know, I mean, I think this is research that's just kind of telling us stuff that I think modern workplaces are already progressing to.
And that's the point. I think the tide tide is in favour of these sorts of changes.
Yeah.
It's just that it's the change between that old paradigm and the new paradigm. I think we were talking before about law firms where it's 6-minute increments, so it's hard to change that kind of work practice. But it will over time.
Yeah, exactly. And it not only delivers a better result for a person, because you've obviously got your well-being, but it delivers a better result as a business. So you're doing good for business, which is making your business more productive, and ultimately delivers the best product for your customer. So it's a no-brainer. Yeah.
Oh, lovely to have you both with us. Yes, exactly.